Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. I'm your host, Rick the Barkeep, bringing you episode 148 here at the tavern, presented by HeroTaku.com. Now, unfortunately, one of the things that's been hanging over the head of the Power Rangers franchise for these last 20 some years is the perception and the reality that it is a cheap show. And I don't mean cheap as in, rubber suited monsters and sparkles and effects, and that's not what I'm particularly talking about. What I'm talking about is cheapness in that whoever seems to own Power Rangers, whether it's Saban, Disney, or Saban again, they're just not willing to invest money properly or pay people what they're due in this particular show. And what I want to go ahead and explore with you guys is just a few examples of the cheapness that I'm talking about. And I want to try and answer why that is. Why is Power Rangers such a cheap show? Why doesn't it have a bigger budget? For what Power Rangers is, which is a, worldwide franchise that has a built-in popularity in both Japan and the United States, coming up on another generation of fans. A great merchandising empire, and just again, a television show goes on for almost a quarter of a century. That's something. But again, the odd thing about Power Rangers is they're just not willing to put the money into this product. And let me go ahead and give you a few examples of what I'm talking about throughout Power Rangers' long run. Now, let's keep in mind, back in 93, I think they had a reason to be cheap. Power Rangers, when it was being kicked around by Saban, everybody rejected it. And, frankly, if Stan Lee could not get the show to come to the States in the 70s, what chance did Saban have? But, through miracles as they happen, Saban was able to get Power Rangers on the air. We got our first season. Now, it makes all the sense in the world at that time for it to be a cheaply run show because you're using half stock footage from Japan, half of it's new footage, and of course you're not going union actors at that point, and you have to pay them, what you can at the time. Now, of course, Austin St. John has said in a number of interviews that he and the other Rangers were basically getting paid less than McDonald's workers at that time, and that's pretty pathetic. But not passing too much judgment, I can understand when it starts out. You have no idea what the show is going to go ahead and be. Nobody wanted it. You finally got it. You put the product out there, and you got to try and save as much money as you can. I get that as it started out. But then, almost overnight, Power Rangers became a worldwide success. The show was popular with critics and fans, had this great merchandising empire at that time, which has only grown in succeeding years. And, by the time the second season came around, you could tell that they were actually putting just a little bit more money into the budget. They designed a new set with Lord Zed's palace. They designed Lord Zed himself. There was more American footage that they were incorporating because they were actually shooting stuff for the show. With the Zoo Ranger suits and so forth. And, frankly, everything seemed to be going well in the franchise. Then we get to the point where Austin St. John, Walter Jones, and Thuy Trang, rightfully so, asked for more money. Because, here's the thing. If you are the leader of the Power Rangers in a television show that's beloved by all, I think you want to get paid a little bit of money. That's kind of that's kind of the thing you want to go ahead and do. And Saban, for whatever reason, decided that they were not going to go ahead and pay the three actors, got rid of them, and brought three new actors in. And I don't understand that decision. We've only heard from the Rangers side that, hey, we want more money, they didn't give it to us and we left. But I don't know why Saban didn't pay them. And I honestly don't believe it's because they couldn't pay them. Again, they were non-unions and the pay rules are going to be a little bit different. I'm not well versed in what the pay rules are now, and I'm certainly not well versed in what they were in the 1990s. But you would think that for a show going into its second season that has all that worldwide acclaim, that they would have the ability to pay their principal actors a little bit more money, or at very least be able to go union and get better actors. Not saying that the three we got to replace some weren't good actors. I'm just saying that, when you go non-union, it's kind of a roll of the dice. You're going to get good actors or not. What's going to go ahead and happen? Another interesting thing was actually brought up in my interview with Sabrina Liu, and I actually did not realize this at the time that she said it, but subsequent things have been coming up. Power Rangers was not actually filmed on film, believe it or not. It was actually filmed on video cassette, which is really kind of unheard of for a lot of products. Again, starting out was probably cheap, but this was going into the second and third season, from what I understand. Maybe in the Zeo, don't quote me on that, but they were filming on tape. And so when you look at it this way, it's like, they have 2 seasons under their belt, they're filming on tape, and they don't pay their actors. There's something kind of odd about that. Now, as the series went along, they did get better in their special effects, they did get better. With the quality and the presentation, things seem to be on the up and up, but of course they were still non-union. Then we get to, Wild Force and the time that Disney went and bought the franchise. Now, again, what was going to go ahead and happen is they were going to shut Power Rangers down, put it into syndication, and that was going to be it. No more Power Rangers. Hence the reason why the last episode of Wild Force is called The End of the Power Rangers. But they were able to keep the show going because they were able to convince Disney, we can do this for a third of the price if we move down to New Zealand. Now, here's something I don't get with Disney. This is something I'm going to get into in a later video here, but I'm just going to touch upon it. Is that Disney buys the Power Ranger franchise so that they can kill it and just sell more toys, which makes no logical sense to me. And again, they had to be convinced to move it to New Zealand to save money. So this is a sign of cheapness right there. When you have to move your production to another country because you're not willing to spend money to pay your actors or to get good sets or something. Now again, I don't know what the dynamics are in the pay rates in different countries. But it just seems odd to me that you're basically saying to the production staff is we don't think you're good enough to be filmed in the United States or to continue on, so we're going to send you New Zealand, and it's going to cost us less to do it. So bye. Now, I'm not going to say that the quality dipped when the Disney era came in. Again, they did a lot of interesting things. Heck, they got CGI guinea pig in Ninja Storm. They got Tommy back in Dino Thunder. But that just to me seems like a natural progression as you go on through the years. But then we get to RPM. Now, again, RPM has many, many faults. And of course, one of the big issues contributing to that was the fact that they did not put somebody experienced in the helm at producing the show, which is really no fault of his own. They put him in there to do it. And of course, almost set them up to fail is the way I would go ahead and put it, and they significantly slashed the budget. I am actually impressed that they were able to get away with half the stuff they did with a severely reduced budget. Disney was pretty much setting Power Rangers up to fail by slashing its budget. And basically, what did RPM do? Well, of course, in my eyes, it failed. But it was the end of the new Power Rangers series. They decided to do the remastered Redux or whatever it is that they call it with all the sparkles the following year. Then, of course, we get Saban buying the product back. And what does Saban do? Really nothing. Saban keeps in New Zealand. They keep it non-union. They don't do a damn thing. They just continue on, except now with an HD camera system, which is like the first significant upgrade that they had done in a long time. And I know I'm rambling on, but I'm getting to some major points right here. And of course, the next big issue that we had as far as cheapness would have to be Megaforce and Super Megaforce. Now, you can, again, forgive Samurai for the things that it did in really not coming up with a lot of original scripts and all that, having the copy for the Japanese, because, people were out of touch for a while. They had to get back on their feet, yada, yada. I get that. That makes a little bit of sense to me. But when we got to Super Megaforce, first of all, editing was atrocious. They obviously did not put enough time and effort and money into paying their editors to get good ones to edit it properly. I think the actors, that's another thing too. They didn't pay a decent amount to get good actors because, let's be honest, half those actors had pretty stilted dialogue and were pretty stilted themselves. And just that was a season that really had a lot of the cheapness to it. But I think the most the worst offender of that is what they ended up doing with the Legendary War, which we've talked about at length, but just as a brief refresher on what happened. Basically, they send an email out a month before filming and say, hey, who wants to come down? And, you have to be here by this time, and we might pay you a little bit for the fare, yada, yada, whatever, and stuff. That, to me, is another example of cheapness. What I'm getting at here is that Power Rangers throughout his history, I mean, it's an amazing show. It's been on for almost a quarter of a century now, and it's still practicing like it's the early '90s. Why is Power Rangers doing that? Why is it that we have to put up with that from this franchise? I mean, shouldn't the Legendary War, and again, I'm going to quote Linkara here, this is something they should have planned knowing that it was coming up. What is Saban using their money for? That these profits and these proceeds that they're getting from the toy sales and syndication and DVD sales and all that stuff. Where is this money going? Exactly. I don't know where this money is within the franchise. Even when we get up to Dino Charge, which is significantly better than what we've had in the Neo Saban era, it's still one of those things where you're like, why are they still being cheap? Why aren't they investing money into, doing their own stunts and more American footage, maybe their own Zord footage and all that? Heck, why don't they just break away from the Sentai footage altogether and just shoot everything in American footage? That may be going out there a little bit too much, but you guys get my point. Why is it that the history of the show is basically spend as less money as possible to do this stuff? Why doesn't Power Rangers do the logical things it needs to do? Why doesn't it pay its actors? I mean, could you imagine what it would be like if Austin and Walter and Thuy actually stayed on through the rest of the series? That's something we might get into later for a longer discussion. Or they had actually been in the original movie. Or that, maybe Saban actually paid enough for the first class tickets and actually informed everybody in time to come down for the super mega legendary war. I mean, imagine how that would turn out. And again, Linkar brought it up, and I just remembered it, what they were saying. He was saying about the cosplaying and the sets and the filming and all that kind of stuff, wasting money where it shouldn't be, which is basically the story of Power Rangers Megaforce is just wasting money. So you don't have money, but you're wasting on things that you don't need. I even think that was something that they did in SPD. They didn't have enough money to hire an actor to play Sam. That's why they had him as a ball of light. Why is this franchise cheap? I mean, where are the books? I talked about transparency in Power Rangers. Tell us, Saban, why are you cheap? Why don't you like to pay people? Why don't you like to hire competent people? Why is this? And Disney, oh my goodness, Disney has the deepest pockets of all. They have a bottomless checkbook, and they couldn't be bothered to do anything with the Power Rangers. They just had to shove it off and say, hey, here, go. Heck, they couldn't even give him Kingdom Hearts. Um, but why didn't Disney put in a movie? I mean, heck, they get Iron Man, they give him a $200 million budget, and look what we got. They give Power Rangers like ship you off to New Zealand. I'm not understanding here, and I wish somebody would explain to me, why is Power Rangers so cheap? How is it we're still stuck in the same mentality as 1993? How come we haven't gone union yet? How come we haven't moved back to Los Angeles? How come we haven't expanded on the things that we have? Why aren't we shooting more American footage? It just seems like the no duh kind of things that we should be past by now should be happening. It's just an odd thing. I mean, every other franchise out there, people are investing money. I mean, again, say what you will about the Hobbit films, but they were not cheap. They put a lot of love and care into those films because they gave them a proper budget, which is why I was skeptical of the Power Rangers movie originally, because it's got a low budget. Now, it still has a relatively low budget compared to, other superhero films of its ilk, but even the movie, can't you at least give us $100 million for it? And so far, the most popular or the most famous actor in that movie is the villain, Rhea Repulsa, and frankly, she's not even a good actress. But any case, what I'm getting at here is that Power Rangers is cheap. That has not changed over the last 20 some years. And I want to know why that is. Why doesn't, and what has Saban said? Saban, I don't think has ever come out with a single reason why Power Rangers is cheap, why he's not willing to pay them. He never, I don't even think they've released a statement as to why they let the original Rangers go, why they weren't willing to pay them. Again, we know what Austin and them say, but what does Saban say? How come Saban hasn't come out and said, yeah, Austin's right, we didn't want to pay him because such and such, or maybe Austin's wrong, like we were paying him, but he wasn't great for something. I mean, I'd like to at least hear something on that, and I want to hear about Super Megaforce. Why did Saban? I mean, Saban. They never actually said anything about the emails and stuff, and about bringing them down there for like what was it, 3 days of shooting. Why is it that neither Saban nor Disney has justified their reasons? And again, I met a producer that worked for Disney, and he never said anything to me. I asked him point blank why they wanted to reduce the budget and send down New Zealand, and he wouldn't give me a straight answer. So why is this so hard? Why is this so hard to get good things out of this franchise? Why is it we have to accept the cheapness every year? It's amazing to me. I just don't get it. And well, that's all I really have to go ahead and say. I think I've made my point on how cheap they've been throughout the franchise run. I just wish we get an explanation, and I hope that changes. What I'm hoping is that with how good Dial Charge has been, that's going to roll over into Ninja Steel, and it's going to get maybe a higher budget. Once the movie gets out and that starts making money, because frankly, if they do it right, it's the next Dark Knight. I'm saying now, I really think so. If they do it right, it could be the next Dark Knight, or the next Spider-Man 2, or the next Iron Man, and maybe down the line we'll get to Avengers level. But my point is that once something's going to happen here in the near future where it's going to force Saban to start spending money. And again, whether that means moving back to LA, whether that means going union, whether that means filming more American footage, building better sets, filming on location a lot more, updating special effects and graphics. Because for all the love of General Charge, that saber-toothed tiger looked pretty pathetic CG wise, and the effects are still kind of bad. Nevertheless, the thing is, I really want to know. Now, if you guys know of where you can point me in the direction of why they're so cheap, and if why they put in record. I mean, again, I don't think their books are open to the public or something, but I'd like an explanation. I would like somebody to tell me this is why your favorite television show that's beloved by people all around the world doesn't give a damn and is not going to spend the money for it. That's what I want to know, and I hope we can get an explanation at some point. Alright, so that's all I really got on this topic. What do you guys think? Why is Saban so cheap? Why was Disney so cheap? And why can't they just pay their people? Why can't they do that? Alright, well, thank you guys for listening. Have a good evening. And the tavern is now closed.